Okay, so good morning everyone and welcome to GTC's webinar, which is the first in a series of marketing webinars we propose to run in 2021. So myself, Noreen Conway, and my GTC colleague Thomas, along with our partners this morning, Galway Chamber, have enlisted the expertise of Murireann Fitzmuarice, shall I say, from MarketingCoach.ie to present the webinar this morning. As I think we'd all agree, the implications of COVID-19 has made us all change the way we do business. It's also changed the consumer behaviour. We've shopped online, we're probably all part of a virtual gym online and all that goes with it. So we really need to be able to respond, reset and pivot to the needs of our client base. I think we'll all agree. So Muireann is here to help us do that and to put an action plan in place and to steer us in a direction. So let me introduce you to Murireann Fitzmuarice. Muireann runs the award-winning business marketing coach.ie. A lot of you will know her already. As a marketing strategist, Muireann works with CEOs to write the marketing plans for their business. Muireann is known for being very practical and helping people create plans that give them a clear roadmap on how to grow their business. She also has two digital platforms. I'm going to name them now if that's okay. Brandedcourses.ie that provides branded portals for people such as consultants, teachers and coaches to sell their courses online. And that may be of interest to a lot of you here this morning. Muireann also runs the digitalpractice.ie and this provides digital marketing services such as web design for the physiotherapy sector. Digital Practice was recently announced as the digital partner of the National Organisation for Physios, the ISCP. So well done. We're privileged to have Muireann with us this morning, and in today's session, as we've said on our email, Muireann will help us all start and write and sharpen a marketing plan for us, for our businesses for 2021. So we'll hand you over to Muireann now and hope you enjoy it.
Great, thanks a million, Noreen. So delighted to be here with you this morning. So it's all about writing a marketing plan for 2021. That's what I'm going to help you with this morning. Thomas would have sent you out a work sheet yesterday, I think, or the day before. So we're going to work through that. So I wanted to make this as practical as possible so that you aren't just hearing about writing a marketing plan and it's like, oh, that's great, Muireann, thanks for that information. But that you're actually working through it as we're going through the session so that it's more tangible and that when you leave here, you have something that you can really crack into and it's already started, right? Because I think that's the hardest part when you're busy with your business. There's loads of other stuff to do. So it's hard to get into the mindset of marketing. So at least you've started that process, which would be good. So it would be good for me to get a sense, even if you can put it into the chat there, how many of you have written or started writing your marketing plan already. If you can just give me a sense of that into the group chat. So what I'm going to talk you through today is a couple of different areas of getting your marketing strategy together. Okay, so I'm going to be sharing the screen with you and I'll flip in between the screen and talking directly. So let me get into that there. Okay, so what we're going to be looking at is a step-by-step approach to your marketing strategy. So what's going to be included in your strategy, because that's one of the key things for people. It's like I want to write a marketing plan, but what will I include in it? It's all about increasing your brand position and also looking at ways to identify on how you can increase engagement. So they're the kind of areas that we're going to talk about this morning. It's only a short session, but hopefully you'll get a lot of value from it. So no matter what business that I sit down with, if I'm doing a marketing strategy with them, the foundation of every good marketing plan is your business objectives, right? So this is when you're sitting down, and particularly it's nice at the start of the year if you're starting to do it in January, and you're looking and going, okay, well, like where do I want to be by the end of 2021? Like what are my big ambitions for the business? So the core thing is that you have this articulated really well for yourself. So what is your business goal? So this can be articulated in different ways. So typically people will put it in terms of either turnover. So I want to have X amount of money made by the end of the year. Other people want it on profit. So turnover isn't necessarily the best measure. Profit is a better measure. It can be in terms of staffing. So like you want to grow the business, you want to employ more people. Some people, depending on the business that you're in, if you own the business, this is more prevalent, that time off. So it's great having a goal of like, I want to make 100k, 200k, 500,000, but you know, everything comes at a price, right? So some people want to put in their business goal a measurement on time, just so that it balances off that you're not working 24/7, right? Or some people want to do it around impact. So it's the impact that you're going to have on your community or your customers or whoever it might be. So having that is the real foundation piece. So I just, because, you know, and I'm sure you're absolutely sick of COVID and all the rest, but I just thought I'd give an example of this, because really your goal can be articulated in many ways, right? So I was thinking about like Ireland 2020, what's our business goal? Like, where do we want to be by the end of, and I should have actually said 2021. I'm obviously still in the mindset of 2020. Where do we want to be at the end of 2021? And if you articulate it through the different measures, it comes out slightly differently, right? So if we were a turnover, it would be, we want to vaccinate 4 million people, right? So that would be one measure. And if it was profit, that's slightly different. So it might be articulated as, we want to get the 300,000 people that are on the live register off the live register. If it was staffing, it would be increase the ICU capacity from 200 to 600 beds, or it could be actually in numbers of people that we want working within the health system. If it's impact, maybe it's about reducing the community transmission or any of the other social impacts that we would be looking at. I really struggled with time off. I was like, I don't know how I'd articulate through that vaccination, because I'm thinking I don't want anyone to take time off. I just want them to roll this out. I don't know if anyone saw the calculator yesterday, where it says when you're getting your vaccination, and mine was like very far out. So yeah, I don't think any time off in this context. But let's look at that, right? So for you, the first thing that I want you to write down, and it's at the top of the worksheet there that you would have got sent, is, what is your business goal? What would you articulate that as? So we'll just give you a minute to write that down for yourself. So you may decide that you're going to articulate it in more than one way. Like, so I tend, for my own business, I tend to do it in turnover, time, and impact. And that's just because they're the three values for me as a business owner, right? So I want to make a certain amount of money. I don't want to work all of the hours in the week. Like I was saying to the guys earlier on, I like my summer holidays. And I also think about impact. So like, how many businesses do I want to work with? How many, what kind of growth do I want to get for them? So for me, it's always those three that I tend to put in my business goal, but everyone's different. Would anyone be open to sharing what their business goal is, even just the structure of it, if not like every single detail in it? Anyone open for sharing? No, that's okay. That's fine. So one of the things that I would say by far that is the most important part of the base of your marketing plan, because really from there, everything that, like, marketing is really an aid to achieving that business goal. There is no other function for marketing other than making yourself feel good, right? So like branding and any of that stuff makes us feel good, but we actually have to have purpose in it, and the purpose is to fulfill a business goal, right? So I'll just share this screen with you here. Okay, so the role of marketing from your perspective is it's completely at service of the business agenda. Okay, so everything should feed up into what your business objective is. So the core thing that you're asking yourself really to make your marketing plan sing is, what customers are you going after, and what products do you want to sell more of? Okay, or what offering do you want to like it's a product or a service, what one do you want to sell more of? Sorry, I'm just going to close out just for a second and open it up again. Yeah. So the key thing, and I pretty much talk about this in every session that that I do, is that the death of any marketing plan is the everybody campaign. Okay, so when you ask someone like, who are you targeting, and they say everybody, or they give you a whole list of like everybody that can buy off them, that is, you're describing something different, right? Because actually your marketing plan is a decision that you're making about your resources. So you're deciding where you're going to spend your time and your money on trying to get people into your business. So everybody can come to you. So all the different kind of profile of people that you work with, you can do work with anybody that you want. However, with marketing, it's about a decision about who am I going to spend my time and attention on. So I just picked this as an example. So this is one of the brands. I don't know if is Geraldine with us? Let me just come out of there. Is
Geraldine Ryan here? Yeah.
Oh, hiya, Geraldine.
Hi, Muireann.
Oh no, and it was Geraldine Kane actually.
Okay.
But hi, Geraldine Ryan. There was two Geraldines on. So I just picked a couple of examples of, because I saw the list of people that were going to be on the call. So I picked a couple of examples from that, right? So if we look at, say, the Stewart Construction, right? So you can see here, if I was talking to them directly, this would be the list of people that they could potentially work with. So it's everything from commercial to pharmaceutical to public to residential, sports and leisure. There's loads of them, right? So this would be fairly typical for any business or any organization, whether it's a social entrepreneurship or whatever it is. You'll have this kind of list. But what you're doing is that if you have a budget of whether it's 2.5 grand, 20 grand, 100 grand, or $1 million, if you try and go after all of these, you dilute the effectiveness of your marketing because you spread yourself too thin. So what you want to do is you want to pick the target audience, which is really the marketing term around it. You're picking the target audience that you're going after in any given year. So the marketing objective, and it's a way that I learned how to structure it when I was working in Unilever, and I think the structure of it is really handy. That if you can articulate your marketing objective in the terms of who are you targeting, what do you want them to buy, why do you want them to buy it, or why should they buy it off you, and what money do you want to make as a result? Okay, so it can be articulated in this sentence pretty much, which would be get X person to buy Y, whatever it is, your service or your product, by convincing them of what. Okay, so convincing them of what, resulting in X amount of turnover. Okay, so I'll give you, I've just done 3 examples of what a marketing objective might look like for 3 different businesses, right? So if you were a solicitor, for example, like like if you think about a solicitor, they've loads of different services, from like will and probate to marriage, you know, when people are going through divorces, to GDPR, to land, you know, so many different services that they have. So this is just one articulation of it. So it could be get 100 business owners to buy the GDPR package by increasing local awareness, resulting in 10 grand of business. Okay. As opposed to, say, a marketing consultant, it might be that you're getting 10 accountants to buy a marketing strategy package by convincing them of your specialist expertise, resulting in 50K worth of business. Or if you're a retail advisor, I think there was a retail advisor on this call as well, get 2 food retailers to invest in a retailer refurb by convincing them of the return on investment metric, resulting in 100 grand worth of business. So this makes your marketing straight away from the get-go really practical. Okay, so what I'm going to ask you to do is take a stab at that for yourself. Like, so if you have a target of, like, I want to grow this business by 100 grand this year, or 50 grand, or whatever it might be, 10 grand, write down how would you articulate that in a marketing objective. So get somebody to buy or do something by convincing them to do Y, resulting in a figure. So I'll put up the formula again, so you'll be able to write it with while you're seeing that. So if you take a minute to write that for your own business. So I just picked the bookkeeping loft as an example of this. Okay, so and I don't know the business obviously, and Emer, is Emer on the call this morning? Is Emer here? No. So if you see here with Emer's business with the bookkeeping loft, right, we understand small business challenges when it comes to bookkeeping and payroll. So clearly she's gone after the SME sector. So if you think about the SME sector, SMEs is a massive sector, right? It's huge. So it's good for her on her website to have the agenda of we help SMEs because people can identify that. But for her, with her marketing strategy, she wants to be more specific with it. So she's saying, I'm going after retailers, I'm going after consultants, I'm going after coaches. She needs to break down that SMEs into smaller groups of audiences so that she can really hone and sharpen her marketing plan. So it's okay from like a website point of view that you say like I cover SMEs, but with the marketing side, you're saying, look, this is who I have the laser focus on and who I'm going to go after. So depending on the business you have, like I know that there's like if we look at for Galway, for example, for your business, Geraldine, there might be, for example, that you might have one of your marketing objectives around fundraising. Okay, so it might be that we need to get 1,000 people signed up to the women's mini marathon, resulting in a fundraising opportunity for us of 10 grand or whatever it might be. So it's okay to have more than one marketing objective, but you don't want to just have we want to grow by 50 grand, because it's not telling you how you're going to do it. So you want to break it down into practical things of I want to get this person to do that, resulting in this. I want to get this group of people to do this, resulting in this expertise. So you can see in the example that I gave you that actually like you will have different methodologies, different marketing ways to go after your objectives. So in the sample that I gave you, which I actually have on the screen, I can put it up on the screen here. You can see here that there's a couple of different ways that this marketing plan is going to achieve the business objective. So the objective is to raise the business by 100 grand, but there's different ways that you're going to do that. So the first one is getting retailers involved. So that's like your direct consumer marketing. Then there's government agencies, which is tender writing, which is a different form of marketing, right? But it's not like your advertising, social media, all that piece. And then the third one is getting the current customers to upgrade their packages. So there's 3 different ways that we're going to reach that 100 grand, and the marketing tools that we'll use to do that will be different depending on who the target audience is and what we're trying to do. So that's a really core piece, and the biggest thing about this is identifying the target audience. Really, that's what we're trying to get you to think about. So once you have done that, now you can make really good marketing decisions. All right. So the most frequently asked questions that I would get asked if I'm in like doing a training session with a larger group, most people will say, what tool should I use? What tool is most effective? And how can I measure return on investment? Okay, so there is no tool that is most effective. There is no tool that you absolutely should use. So how, like that's like, well, great, Muireann, thanks for that, because now you're not giving me any direction, because everybody ultimately wants the golden bullet, right? So you want to be just told, if you do this, you will get this result. That is not going to happen, right? Because it is all dependent on the business and the customers that they're going after. So what you want to do is the tools that are most effective are the tools that your customers are on and that they're using. And that's the simplest metric. So what you want to do is assess your opportunities first based on the customer that you're going after. So my daughter has been singing a song recently, because we've been around each other a lot more since over Christmas, and it's like, I'm the queen of the castle, get down you dirty rascal, right? And it just makes me laugh every time, because I always think of it on a marketing side, that's actually what we want to think about when we're thinking about our marketing and our marketing plans. The customer, whoever you have decided to go after with your business and your marketing objective, they are the king or queen of your castle, and you are just going to be guided by them. Okay, so it makes everything so much easier. Like, technically you don't need a marketing consultant, and I know I'm doing myself out of a job, but if you follow this, you actually don't need to ask anybody other than your customer, where are you, what are you using, and what is the best way to communicate to you? You should be guided by your customer. So the questions you're asking yourself is, whoever that target audience is, you're asking yourself, what did they read? Where do they go online? What social media do they use? Who do they follow online? So, you know, who are they following? What groups are they part of? So are they part of networks? You know, are they part of any organizations? What events do they go to? So how do they gather, essentially? Who influences them? And then what do they listen to? Okay, so you're trying to get an idea of what is the consumption of information, where do they get their information from, essentially. So I'll just give you an example of how that might work for two different businesses. So say, for example, if I was targeting accountants, okay, so I've decided I'm going after accountants, they're who I want to go after. Well, then all I have to do is ask myself, okay, well, where are accountants in terms of what are they reading? Where are they going online? And I just go through the series of questions. So like, what are they reading? They're probably reading the likes of the Accountancy Ireland. In terms of newspapers, they probably are reading the newspapers more likely. And it would be more like the Irish Times and the Independent. That would be fit that kind of profile. In terms of social media, it's more likely to be LinkedIn that they're using from a professional perspective. The groups that they're part of, they're either going to be part of one of the accountancy bodies, so whether that's the ACCA, CIMA, the CPA, whichever one it might be. And there will be events associated with that. There's an Accountancy Ireland podcast, for example, and then I have a picture of two guys that have a company called OmniPro, and they service a lot of the accountancy market, so they would be influencers within this marketplace. So all you have to do is like put your customer in the middle of this in your mind and just ask yourself these questions, right? And you can see how these tools are completely different than if I decide that I'm going after business locally. So if we take that example of the solicitor who's trying to get GDPR packages for business people locally, well, then you would have a completely different type of marketing tools that you'd use. So you might, for example, go in the local papers, the local radio. LinkedIn would be still relevant. Facebook would come in here, even though both of the target audience, the accountants and the business people locally, you wouldn't target accountants necessarily on Facebook, but you might target people locally on Facebook, because people are more interested. If you're in a business locally, you tend to be on some of the social channels that, or the social forums that are on Facebook from a local perspective. Or it might be about clubs, organizations in your local area. So if you take a minute and do that for one of your customers that you would really like to get more of, and just ask yourself those questions, I'll give you a minute or two to do that. Okay, so I might just get a sense of how easy or hard you found that, right? So did anybody find it difficult to make the list when they were doing it? So Kathleen, what about for you?
Yeah, I found it difficult. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, okay. Yes, I found it difficult in the sense that it's new to me. I'm trying to set up a business, so I'm thinking of the people that I would be dealing with as well. Not too sure what groups they would belong to as well. I could answer some of the questions, all right.
Yeah, so
I'm thinking about tourists coming into the country. That would be kind of the area I'm going in, and I really don't know enough about them.
yeah.
So for me, starting, I would need to probably get to know more about them. I'm learning here now this day.
Yeah, lovely. So what happens is there's kind of three things that will happen there when you're doing it, right? So the first thing is that you will find it really hard. Okay, so that's one option. The second one is that you will find it very easy, and the third one is that you'll find it very easy, but for a different reason. Right? So if you're finding it hard, it's that more research is needed. Okay,
Yeah.
so you either don't have clarity on the target audience. Okay, so that's causing confusion. So that's a good thing to know, because that means that you have to go back to the first step.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
actually, I really need to figure out who it is I'm going after. Right, so that's a good thing. Because you will find if you haven't got clarity on your target audience, you will find this hard, right? So that's a good thing. So either I have to clarify my target audience, or I need to do more research on them.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a good situation to know that. If you found it easy, there's two reasons that you might find it easy. So the first one is that you are the target audience, so therefore you know the answers. So I'm targeting women in their 40s, and I am a woman in my 40s, right, with kids or whatever. So I'm really easy. I'm going like, yeah, they're part of Network Ireland. They're going on this website, they're on Instagram, whatever, right? So I'm the target audience, so it's really easy. Now, that's dangerous because you are the target audience of one, right? So you just want to sense check yourself with other similar target audiences to you, so that you're not just being myopic, that you're picking people who are exactly like yourself, right? So that's it's not a problem. It makes it actually easy because you can identify the opportunities more easily, but don't forego the research. Just ask yourself the question, am I doing it just based on myself? And the third one then is that you know them because you know your customer really well. Okay, so that's why you're finding it easy. So that's really good. So where you're trying to get to is that third sweet spot, which is where you know your customer so well because you interact with them, you research with them, you have experience or expertise or whatever it is, that you're able to answer all those questions. So that's where you're aiming for, but you have to go with wherever you are at the moment. So generally the route to knowing them really well, understanding them really well, is going to be research. That's what's going to help you. So the golden thing about this is that trust your target audience more. Go out and talk to your customers more than talking to, like, the way you go to business events and it's like, oh, what marketing are you doing? They're like, oh, I'm doing this on social, and you can get freaked out by what everybody else is doing. You're like, oh God, should I be on Instagram? And God, that girl's doing loads of stuff over there on LinkedIn and I'm not doing anything. Calm yourself down always by anchoring yourself to your customer and not to everything else that's going on in the universe, right? So your customer is where your base is, and that's why when you anchor your marketing in a business strategy and the marketing objectives, the way I've outlined them, it will make you feel a lot more confident about what you're doing and how you're doing it. Yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Is there any questions that people have as they're going through that part of it? Because that's that's one of the trickier parts of writing the marketing plan. And I just realized that there's some people that need to be allowed to talk there. Nick, you were saying that you were finding it challenging. Where did you find the challenge, do you think?
Hello. So I think one of the biggest challenges was sort of thinking about what groups they'd be a part of. So similar to Kathleen, I'm setting up my own business as a personal development coach. And I'm wanting to target people in their 20s and 30s, but sort of picking where I'd sort of find them, what groups they'd be going, they'd be following, that sort of thing.
Yeah. So the wonderful thing is that actually, if you focus your attention on the customer, it stops like putting the responsibility on you to figure it out. Where if I actually just go and find out from my customer, well, then you're not having to make these big decisions. It actually becomes very self-evident, because if you talk to a couple of people within that age profile and you're like, are you part of any networks? What groups are you part of? And sometimes the answer might be no, I'm not. So then you just discount that part, and it's like networks isn't really where it's at for this target audience, for example. So like there's not, if we take the 20s and 30-year-old market, like I'm asking what do they read, right? So if I was thinking about traditional mediums such as like newspapers, magazines, that kind of thing, like my answer might be they don't, right? And that's okay. That's not a channel for that particular audience. But that's why you can't say that like, radio's dead or print is dead, because clearly some of us are reading it, listening to it, of all of the channels. So that's where you can cut through the mist and just go, I'll just talk to my customers, find out where they are they anywhere where they're grouping together? That's the mediums that I'm going to use. Okay. So that makes it a bit easier, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. So you can almost sort of cross off some of the ones on that list of, as long as it does apply that they don't fit into it. Okay.
Exactly.
Great.
Yeah. So particularly with social media, it's very helpful because otherwise you'll be everywhere. So that means that you can grade it in order of importance. So I think my target audience, while they're on every channel, when they're thinking about like my type of product, their use is higher on LinkedIn, or their use is higher on Facebook, for example, or whatever channel it might be. So you can prioritize them based on their use. And again, you're not having to make a decision, am I on all of these channels, right? So that's really good. So once you have, what you have done there, when you've answered all those questions, is you've just highlighted the opportunity. You haven't made any decisions, right? So that's the gift you give yourself. You analyze all of the options, all of your opportunities, but the next step is you get a highlighter and you highlight which are the ones that I am going to use. Okay, so that is your marketing decision. That is your entrepreneurship in action, is that decision, right? That's the decisive part with the marketing. That's what's making it into an action plan. So I could do all of these things. All of these things are an option. But if you stay at that stage, you will start feeling overwhelmed, right? Because there's too many options, right? So you have to decide which ones am I going to use, and you base that on which are the most important for my customer. So which one do I think is most relevant for them, and where do I think I will perform best? And we have to take that into consideration. Like, for many people with, like, say if I was talking to a girl the other day, and one of the options was to do more online training. Like that was, and she had actually had people, she's a physio, and she'd actually had people coming to her asking her to do more like recordings and stuff like that. She does not want to do it, and she doesn't feel confident doing it at this point in time. And part of our discussion was, well, how do we get you to that place where you feel confident, but accept that you're not going to do it now, and give yourself a break and just go, it's not in my strength zone at the moment, but I can over the next 6 months develop that strength zone for marketing. So it's really getting the highlighter and going, where do I think is the most important place for my customer, and where do I think I would be strongest place based on my business, based on my competence and confidence to operate there. So once you've got that, then what you're doing is you're just pulling it together. And I realized I didn't plug in my laptop when I moved my computer, so just bear with me 2 seconds while I do that. I could see the battery going down, so I didn't want to just cut out randomly on you. Sorry about that. So your next step is to pull this together in some type of campaign that is meaningful for you and meaningful for your customer. So this is where, like, particularly if you have other people on board, like the phrase of get business people to buy X to do Y, that's not going to inspire anybody like long term in a given year. So what you want to do is call it a campaign of some sort. So whatever terminology you want to use yourself. So like this is Project Trojan. So, you know, we're going to get into this sector, and we're going to, you know, use some tool that will get us in there. And then once we get in, we'll get a real presence. So call it something that is motivating for you. And you may decide to put that as an external communication, but you don't have to. It just puts a framing around what your marketing campaign is for the year. So, you know, this year it's all about Project X, like Project Escalate. That's what we're doing this year, so that you can galvanize the people in your team to go, okay, it's about Project Escalate, or like say with Coke Galway, it's about Project Impact, or, you know, whatever you want to call it, but it's making it into a campaign. Because then what you're going to do is you're going to go, okay, for this campaign, what are the key elements? So with the ones that you've highlighted are the key elements of your campaign. So I'm going to show you 2 examples of that. So it might spark a few ideas for how you might do this for your own business. So let me just pop in here. Okay, so to build a campaign, so this is an example of Shona Madden, a girl that I worked with up in Louth. So she is a solicitor, and one of the things that she wanted to do was raise the profile of practice and increase the number of customers and turnover. So we wanted to raise the profile of the practice, and you can do that, like, and you can think like, oh, I'll do some advertisements locally, you know, I'll do some stuff on the radio, but we wanted to bring it together that it felt cohesive and it felt like a campaign. Okay, so the way that we did that with Shona is we did a charity Will Week in September, just gone in September 2020. So all of the things that she was planning to do, which was radio, it was press, so she was developing, she wanted to do stuff with the local paper, and she was doing stuff with the networks locally. She did that. She pulled it together under this heading of Charity Will Week, and it worked fantastically for her. So what her aim was that she wanted to get to about 10 grand worth of donations over that period of time, so that it built up like a rapport with her in the local area. And she put up a post there the other day, and they got to just under 7,500 fundraising used for that they raised for the charity. But the really interesting thing about this was that because she brought all the tools together under one campaign, for her it even made it easier, because she was talking, like in any of the articles that she was doing, she was talking about the will, she was talking about probate. It just made it cohesive for her. And what she ended up happening for her is, in general, like not got to do with the wills and the probates, she was getting about 6 queries per week, I think it was, from the public, like just more generally for her business. And in December, she was getting 6 queries per day for her business. 6 per day. Like, it's an incredible difference, right? Because it was this campaign, so people understood it. It wasn't all these disparate messages, like, you know, a post here, something in the paper, something on the radio. It all came together in something that was understandable for her business. Noreen mentioned earlier on that I do a lot of work with the Irish Society of Chartered Physios, so I've done their marketing strategy for the next 3 years, and when they came to me, the challenge that they had was that physios are known for being good at backs and necks, right? So if you have a pain in your back, a pain in your neck, a pain in your leg, you go to a physio. But actually physios do a huge amount more, right? So there's physios for neurology, so if you have like a stroke, you can go to a physio afterwards for recovery, and post-COVID you'd go to a physio. Neurology, if you have a brain injury, there's a huge breadth of conditions that they treat, and people aren't aware of it. So as a professional organization, we want to get people aware of this. So how do we do that? So we had decided what kind of tools we were going to use. So we're going to use radio, press, partnerships, all of these different elements. But we needed something to bring it together so that it was cohesive, so that if we're going to spend this money on, you know, doing radio, doing all of these things, we want people to be able to remember or like tag it on to something. So you'll hear it now that I've said it to you. You might hear it on the radio because it's on RTE at the moment, and on local radio in Galway as well. it's called the hashtag Ask the Physio campaign. So it's Ask the Physio. So what we want people to do is that when they hear a condition or a problem or an issue with anything got to do with the body, that they consider the physio as much as they would going to the doctor. That's where we're trying to get to. So that's why we're using the campaign Ask the Physio, so that that will resonate in people's minds. So we're using the same tools, we're using everything the same as we would be if we didn't have a campaign, but what we're trying to do is we're trying to make sure that people understand and can kind of have a trigger in their mind for, oh, this is what they're doing. So building a campaign around whatever your marketing strategy is a very powerful way to bring all of this together and make a position for your brand, which is what this whole section is about, is how do I position my brand? We make a campaign around our marketing activities that we have chosen.
We're for the sprains.
So the last piece in this is around increasing engagement. Okay, so increasing engagement goes back to the customer again, which is lovely because everything in marketing goes back to the customer. So with engagement, you're just simply asking yourself, if I know my customer and I've got to know them better, what do I think would excite and delight them? What do I think would they find really interesting? And you can only do that by just thinking about your own customers. So I'll just give you an example of a brand that I work with. So Uccello, I use this in this brand as an example for a different context. In the other talk that I did with JTC or GTC, as I say. So Uccello is a kettle that helps people who have a disability of some sort, where they have limited ability to lift the kettle. So that could be from arthritis to being in a wheelchair to having any kind of disability really. And it helps them pour hot water more safely. So when we were sat down with them, we were like, how do we excite and delight your community? Like, what do we do? And you just think about people, like what actually really is interesting for people. So these are just two examples of things that they did, but they worked really well for the business and for the client themselves. So the one on the left was Gemma Willis, and they had read her story in Evoke and about the different challenges that she had. And when they read her story, they thought actually Uccello kettle would be really good for her. And they sent her just a gift box and a hamper with the Uccello kettle in it. And because she loved it so much, she ended up doing a video for them. Carol Noel Rice, again, they had seen her doing something online and sent her a gift pack with the Uccello kettle in it, and she really wanted to talk on her channels and also on the Uccello channels about her experience of the kettle. So like, it's just simply being nice actually a lot of the time with excitement, but it's being thoughtful and thinking what would be interesting for my customers. There's a different example, but I think it kind of puts a different slant on it. I work with Donald's Kitchen, so one of the girls that runs that business, we were looking at what would people be really interested in and how would they want to interact with Donald, because obviously he's a celebrity chef. So one of the things that we do on Instagram with them is like live cook-alongs with celebrities, or we do live chats with other individuals, or he just does the talking to camera piece, and then we do prizes and giveaways. So that works for this target audience because that's what they're interested in. So they're interested in celebrity and that kind of area and inspo in the kitchen. So that's what we provide them. So excite and delight and customer engagement is as simple as just thinking of your customer and going, what do I think would they find really interesting? So how do I use this tool in a really interesting way? And I just thought I'd give it an example of B2B. So Marina runs a business called Brava Virtual, and she's a virtual assistant for me. And at Christmas time, she sent me this book, which was the Good Food No Stress book, with a voucher for a cooking class as a thank you for the business that I'd given her during the year last year. And that was just from her listening to me and hearing that like I'm interested in food. I wanted to change the way I was eating, all that, and it was the perfect gift. And the thing about excite and delight, when you're thinking about this for your customer is that it's the things that make your customer smile, right? So it's the ones that, like, when I got that in the door, I was just like, oh, and it is that feeling of feeling special, right? That you have made someone feel special in the day. That's ideally what you're looking for with your customers. That's how you increase engagement. And if you notice with all of these things, the things that I'm talking about are all very customer centric. Everything that we're talking about here is customer centric. So with your the bottom of this page, what you can see here is that this is bringing your campaign together. So the top part of this page is your planning. That's all the strategy part. So that's your thinking. So this is who I'm going after. This is the tools I could use, right? So that's strategy. And the bottom part is your action plan. So the bottom of the part is you saying, this is what I'm actually doing. So this is the campaign, this is the tools that I'm going to use, and this is the timeline. And I've given you a sample of it on the other side. So you may have just one of these boxes at the top, but you may have 3 boxes of the action plans underneath it, right? Because you might have 3 campaigns. So, you know, tenders being one, increasing your rate of sale with your current customers, and then getting new customers. So they could be your 3 boxes underneath. But it gives you a nice, neat structure from strategy into action plan. So that is it. That is the session done. So hopefully you will feel like you've got started on that road, like you've wrote the objectives and you've gotten to start thinking. For some of you, you might need more research, so that's your next action step. So if you just, before we finish up, and I'll hand over to Noreen in a second, if you just take a minute before we do that to write down what is the action that you need to take to get your marketing plan a little bit further. So if you just take a minute so you can write that down. So Greer just put in the comment there that she can sometimes be sporadic. That is like so common, right? So because it's, you know, we're doing all this stuff in the business, marketing isn't our only job. So one of the recommendations I would make to you is to book in your diary an hour a week where you think about marketing. Even if you don't action anything major, just book the time off, just an hour every week, and try and get that into a habit. And no more than that if you're struggling to get regularity. Just like the challenge for people is they go, I'll do a half a day now on Friday, and you never get to it, right? So just small amount of time regularly is the best approach. So look, delighted to talk to you today, and best of luck with your marketing plans during the year. And if I can be of any help, just give me a shout. You can connect with me on LinkedIn as well. Myself, Noreen and Thomas are all on LinkedIn. I think it's a really good way for us to stay connected. So Noreen, I'll hand back over to you.
Thanks, Muireann.
Muireann, thanks a million. Got you instilled great confidence and competency in us all. So I've taken great key takeaways from it. I'll just point out a few things, Muireann, if it's okay with you. Just that marketing objective, the who, the what, the why. It's just the little nuggets in the marketing options. Be guided by your customer. Clarify that target audience, and I suppose the sweet spot, as you were saying, is if you do know your target audience and those networks and stuff. But trust the customer. Hugely invaluable that you trust your customer. And I suppose the other thing is, as you were saying, where do we perform best? Stick to what you perform best, you know, and that's a great starting point as well. The marketing campaign piece, I think for myself and Thomas, we were just planning our own campaign here, is the marketing campaign is all about positioning our brand, but you've just hit the nail on the head. It's excite and delight. If you think of those two things, excite and delight, it's all about the customer centric really at the end of the day. So huge thanks, Muireann, to you on that. And thanks to all the participants and attendees today. Muireann, will we be able to get a copy of the presentation?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I'll send that on to you and you can send it out. Yeah.
Great. And we will have as you can see there, the session is recorded, guys. So we will have it on our website with your permission, or we can send it out to you as well with the presentation. And just stay tuned to our social media, because as I said at the very start, this is the first of many series with Muireann and with our marketing series. So stay tuned. It's an exciting topic, and as some of you said, it's just daunting, but it's very exciting, and Muireann makes it very exciting as well. So thanks for everyone that participated. Thanks in particular to Muireann and to our partners, Galway Chamber, who have worked alongside us on this as well, Colleen, Kenny and all the team there, Emma. And in particular, thanks to Thomas here, who arranged everything in GTC. So thanks a million, guys, and we will talk to you soon. info@gtc.ie if you have any queries. Okay, God bless, have a good day and stay safe. Bye-bye.
Great, thanks.
Thanks. Bye.